Wanted to show the world what he knew he was made to be. You have to excuse me, I'm a bit nervous. This doesn't happen much. Do you mind if I sit?
No, not at all.
It's been a while since I've performed solo. So he packed up his bags, he hopped on the train, and he headed west towards the city that rains, where he hoped the rain would water his dreams to grow. Then he opened his eyes from the slumber he took on his cross-country ride from Carolina to Washington State. He was there in Seattle. So he hopped off the train and looked to the skies, and to his surprise, there was nothing but sun and dreams waiting there in front of him. Now this boy is going to chase his dreams. Oh, this old farmer boy is going to chase his dreams. So he got right to it. He was playing in bars and writing song after song for people to hear, and they loved how he played. And then one lucky night, this little old guy, a man at the bar, caught his eye who he knew he had seen from the magazine. He ended his set, and you bet that man from the bar came up and shook his hand and said, boy, I love that stuff you just did. He said, you got chops, boy, you're gonna go far. Won't you come with me to Nashville, and I'll make you a star. Tears began to well up in that boy's eyes. He had dreamed of Nashville for a while. And there ends the story of a boy and his dreams. And if there's a moral to this song that I sing, is to teach you all not to be afraid. Don't let someone stop you from your dreams. Don't you let yourself stop you from your dreams. Don't you be afraid to chase your dreams.
sit down there. Dan's going to be a panelist. Hi everyone, I'm Ian Eschker and I'm a member of the Cape Fear Economic Development Council. And this is one in a series of events we have. We typically have every other month we have an event called CFEDC Presents. Also typically at the WHQR galleries. We've had events on microfinancing and the river and entrepreneurship and technology and Eagle Island and a variety of other things. And the idea is that our organization is interested in the broadest possible discussion of economic development, especially a discussion of sustainable economic development. And we're a volunteer organization and several of our members are here. But in that regard, this event, although we're sort of off-site tonight, this is a great place to have an event, but this is typical because music, so the theme for tonight is the music business in the Cape Fear region. And we think that music is an economic driver in this region, and perhaps an underappreciated economic driver. And we also think that it's part of our regional identity, so I hope it's something we're going to talk about tonight is sort of the musical scene in this region against other regions. And then finally, just as citizens, we're all volunteers, we all are delighted to have music in our lives, the fact that it connects us with others, it's part of some of our livelihoods, so we really want to bring an event tonight. So we have a panel tonight, and I'm delighted that my friend and feature editor of the Star News, John Staton, is going to MC a panel discussion. I expect you all maybe have some questions as well. I think Hillary can talk about the logistics here, but Hillary, who's a fellow board member, and it was her bright idea to come here, such a great idea for an event, is going to introduce the panel, and we'll talk about sort of how it lays out with questions and so forth.
Not really. I'm just going to introduce everyone. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce everyone that was generous to come here tonight and be on our panel. First, we have John as our moderator. He is the features editor at the Star News and has been covering arts and entertainment with the Star News since 2000 as a writer and editor. Rich Leader is the executive director of the Brooklyn Arts Center, known for, sorry, I am reading off notes. Known for showcasing a vast array of talent, including modern dancers, chamber orchestras, singers, theater companies. Rich is also a renowned screenwriter and a screenwriting coach. So anybody who has questions about screenwriting, see him afterwards. We have Beau Gunn here, program and music director for the 98.3 The Penguin. Beau grew up in Beaufort and moved to Wilmington after high school. What is it?
I don't want to claim South Carolina, so I'll say Beaufort.
Okay. Graduating from UNCW with a communications degree. Then we have Chris Lee, owner of Pipeline Event Management. It's the premier event specialist company in Wilmington, coordinating and managing primarily musical events, and provides security, hospitality, logistical support, and oversight. He's born in New Bern and studied at ECU. And finally, we have our beautiful little James Ethan Clark. And thank you once again. That was. So if you will join me to welcome all of our panelists up here. Yep, perfect.
Hey, I'm John Staton. For those who didn't hear, Star News, and thanks for Hillary and Ian and the Cape Fear Economic Development Council for having us out. It's a great idea. There's obviously a lot of interest, as this full room shows.
The back.
I'll try to speak a little louder. Sorry about that. Okay, so this seems like kind of an obvious question, but I guess it's the reason why we're all here is, why is live music and a thriving music scene so important to economic development? And that's kind of one thing I wanted to throw out to our panelists. Maybe Beau can start with that. Why is live music so important to have a thriving scene, for the economy.
I can only answer it to what I know in terms of the Penguin. We've been doing shows since 2005 when Greenfield Lake Amphitheater opened. We had our first show at Tiff Merritt. Was anybody there in 2005? There wasn't much of a game plan. I think the concession stand was open and the line was crossing right where the entrance was going on, and there might have been a line of about 100 people, but in line and people trying to get in as well. But what we noticed at that point was we were going to be able to sell a lot of tickets in this community because it was starved. The market was starved. And shortly thereafter, as we started to do more shows, and we started to look at the zip codes through etix.com, our particular ticketing agency, we noticed that a lot of the zip codes were from Raleigh, were from Myrtle Beach, Charlotte, even as we started to grow this music scene. And in terms of heads on beds, bringing people in, eating at restaurants, and all of that kind of development, which is truly what this is about, we knew that we had something there, which isn't a new model at all. There's cities all across the world that have angled their cities to be music cities. Nashville, Austin, Texas, and in our own state, Asheville, North Carolina. And I'll go ahead and throw it out there because I was speaking on a panel in Boulder, Colorado at a AAA conference, and there was someone from Asheville that worked at WNCW, and I laid the gauntlet down and said in 10 years we hope to be known as the music capital of North Carolina. And I could tell they were shaking their heads and not too happy about that. But that's where I see us going. There's a few, that's right. All right, here we go. There's a few plans that we have in the works to make that happen. But it's going to take a community. It's going to take this fine board that volunteers their time, and of course, us as music lovers and promoters as well to do that.
If we can, just take a second and recognize what the Penguin has done for the community as far as music goes. The ability to cater to the different genres and have a viable option for these artists to come to our market and not pass us by, which is the norm with touring acts, is new in this area, and it's growing. And each year you'll just notice the number of shows and the quality of shows and the variations in the genres just increasing phenomenally. So the only thing I really have to add is people need to realize that these shows are a catalyst for local businesses that cater to the clientele. There's a great opportunity to capitalize on all these people and target your company and your marketing plans to cater to what is out there and what is being delivered by the local music scene.
He's incredible, isn't he? He could sell ice in the middle of winter. The big picture for the music scene is that people love to live here. So it increases the tax base for the entire region, our county, and that's good for everybody. So the more vibrant your cultural arts in general, music being a part of that is, the better the community is, and the more people want to live here, and the more houses are sold, and the more restaurants are filled, and the more bars get filled, and we're seem to be doing that pretty good. So let's keep it up.
And the correct answer goes to Rich Leader. No, seriously, those are all great points, and that was exactly what I was thinking. Obviously, it's a quality of life thing, right? I mean, you have great music, that's a place where people want to live. So that I've been covering music in this town since the early 90s, and it's never been as busy as it is now. I mean, there's some ups, there's some downs, there's some things that are good and some things that could be better, but I don't think I've ever seen the schedule quite as full as it is, top to bottom, January to December as it is right now. But kind of going back on what y'all were saying a little bit, one thing I really think has kind of helped, as Chris was talking about, bring the acts here. Now we have the Brooklyn Arts Center, we have Greenfield Lake. Ziggy's just opened up, which is a 750 capacity place. I guess I'd like to get our panelists to talk about what about the venues we have now is really working and doing well, and like what can be improved? What are some of the pieces we need that maybe aren't in place right now? And I'll kind of start with Chris.
Greenfield Lake Amphitheater is the obvious choice to start with. Beautiful, quaint, very very good acoustics. There's not a bad seat in the house. I don't care if you're up in the top left or you're down front of the pit. You take in what that artist is giving a lot more than the average listener who sees that same artist in a 5,000 person venue and really doesn't have that ability to connect to what's really being given. We've seen some growing pains with Greenfield Lake being a city-owned venue as far as needs that we as promoters have. They are working with us now. We actually have a plan in place. Every ticket sold, $1 of that ticket goes into a fund, which is then used for improvements specifically for us, for Greenfield Lake, whether it be cigarette stations, which we all wish no one would smoke anyway, but Wi-Fi, better barricade, better, yes, those are not mine. The city's done a good job of aiding us and helping us along with issues that we see on a day-to-day basis out there. And as long as there's some, working together there, we will all be able to continue to do shows there, and they'll only get better. And the big picture is making sure that you as ticket holders come to Greenfield Lake and get to have a great intimate show and feel safe and secure and don't get to see the hassles or the issues that arise. I'll talk about the Brooklyn Arts Center and how beautiful and historic it is.
Please.
Me? The Brooklyn Arts Center is it's a staple now. Also, it's cemented itself as a functioning venue. There's had some great acts come through. It also is very intimate and personal. It's a good medium-sized room. It's tucked away in the north side of developing downtown, and it's a destination. But it's good to separate yourself from that local busy downtown scene and give yourself that ability to still be in the downtown market, go to a show, or go before a show and eat dinner. Support the local businesses, go to the show, and after the show, go out and have drinks, support other local acts that are playing. I see the Brooklyn Arts Center as being a staple moving forward, and definitely someone that's already cut their teeth, if you will. They came in fast and furious, and Dave Nathan's did a good job with renovations. A couple small issues there that have been addressed, and moving forward, the quality of shows and the number of shows will only continue to increase, I think.
The original question is, what pieces are missing?
Well, I guess, what is our working well now, and what pieces are missing? We have obviously the bigger venues, but it takes kind of all the levels.
Yeah, I think...
Are we missing a type of venue? Are we missing a type of venue? A class of venue?
What are we missing?
I would say.
Arena?
I think there are only 150,000 people here. Raleigh is 1 million people, and Charlotte is more than that. We're 200,000 regionally, right? So we're not ready for a 20,000 seat arena here, I don't think. And Cape Fear Community College is building a 1,500 seat theater. We'll see how that goes for them.
Which will be the biggest?
By far, I think, for an indoor arena. I think the big part of the music scene goes beyond the big clubs. I think that the Whiskey, Rusty Nail, this place, that's all part of the music scene. There's music all over, every night. Whether or not you're going to see a big band, or whether you're going to come see a band here, it's still part of the music scene. I think that's the beauty of the Wilmington music scene is the guys who are in it, the bands, the players. For this size community, we have an astounding number of awesome musicians who I'm not sure get enough of a chance to play. I think that's a missing element here. I don't think it's anyone's fault, really. But I wish that the local bands had more opportunity to play at the bigger shows. That's what I wish.
You gotta bring Ethan into this.
Ethan?
He's the perfect.
Let me ask Ethan, this is kind of a bridge between talking about the venues and talking about the scene. We had a very well-known venue, the Soapbox, closed a month or two ago. You played there many times. Everyone has been there, and but I kind of want to, talk a little bit about the impact of that, from your perspective as a musician, is it a huge loss? Is it really no impact, or kind of what is the kind of the effect of that?
When we lost the Soapbox, we lost one of the, smaller but big venues, where I could, have a good chance to open up for a larger name that was coming through town. And we, you could have 2 shows going on there every night because there was the upstairs and the downstairs, and it didn't make an impact things on either show. So you could go see 2 shows in one night, that kind of thing. We still have places like the Calico Room and the Whiskey, but going back to what Rich was saying, a lot of us don't get a shot to open up for the larger bands, like say at Greenfield Lake. And Rich has given me some shots at Brooklyn Arts, and it's gone good. And I had my record release show at Brooklyn Arts back in April, and I had Sean Thomas Gerard from Onward Soldiers open, and Mike Blair of the Stonewalls play after them, and then me and my band, the Renegades, played for the release show. And it was a great show, there was a lot of people there. But I guess the question is, did losing the Soapbox impact? Yes, I think it did. Because now, we have Calico Room, we have the Whiskey, we have Ziggy's, and those are all great places, but Soapbox wasn't establishment in Wilmington for so long, and that's where people played when they came through, So I'd say we did lose that, but I think as a community, like everybody said, we're trying to grow, we're trying to work together to keep our arts and our entertainment successful in Wilmington. So I think that it'll hurt us for a little while, but I think we can bounce back. Sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree that the losing the Soapbox definitely made an impact, and it wasn't just with the room itself. And I know a lot of the guys, Brent, Joe, Mitch, are all still in town doing their thing, so much, or so on and so forth. But it was a tidal pool of just cultivating talent for many, many years at the Soapbox that really hasn't been duplicated yet. It's not expected to be duplicated yet. It just closed a couple of months ago. But there was a real subculture there. There were bands that would start there opening up, playing for 10 people that eventually would sell out at 350 and move on. So losing the Soapbox, the room itself, while that really wasn't all that great, another one did open up that could potentially cater to that, and Ziggy's. Losing that group of people and how they work together really, I think, hurts Wilmington or sets us back a little bit for the cultivation of bringing in the underground talent or the up-and-coming talent like they were. I'll also speak to, on the promoter side, bringing in more national acts and large acts at the BAC or Greenfield Lake Amphitheater. One of the most difficult things we have is we would love, this is an excuse but more of a reality, we would love to have opening acts on the bill. It's important to us. It also helps us sell tickets. Unfortunately, that's generally taken out of the hands of the agents or out of the promoters, and is always usually in the hands of the agents. And their top priority is generally filling an opening slot with a band that they have just signed, an up-and-coming act. And sometimes that can be beneficial, of course, but it also does take that opportunity, a perfect opportunity for a small local band that may be playing in front of 100, 150, 200 people or less to get them in front of 700 or 800 people from their own hometown and exponentially grow them pretty quickly. I disagree. Well, you mentioned a large venue at 20,000, which I'd agree with. There's no way on earth we could take on something like that. However, I do think that Wilmington would benefit specifically economically from a 4,000 or 5,000 capacity venue, no doubt about it. There's plenty of land down the Cape Fear River. Wilmington downtown doesn't have a backyard. There's no green space. If you look at downtown Sundown, the farmer's market, the car show, and any number of other things, they're happening in the streets. That's a reality. That's where they take place. So we desperately need an area downtown, a green space, where all of those events can take place, but also it would be big enough to where we could house a temporary stage or a nice styled architecture of a stage that would be permanently fixed there, where we could have 4,000 or 5,000 people throw concerts. We've lost out on a lot of bands this year and last year alone, big bands. Widespread Panic, the Black Crowes are two of them that certainly would have come here had we had the ability to house them, and we just don't. And kudos to the Azalea Festival. That was, I don't know if that was a one and done or whatnot, but we all saw the potential on what a large space could do with the Ava Brothers and Leonard Skinner Band. We really don't want anything on asphalt like that, but it was still nice to have in Wilmington. So, and to your point, Rich, Raleigh is what, 2 million people or so, whatever the size is. Wilmington is much, much, much smaller, maybe a tenth of the size or so, or a fifth of the size. But I can tell you with the bands that we specifically bring to Greenfield Lake Amphitheater, we set sellout records, and we sell more tickets oftentimes than Raleigh and Charlotte. And I can't promise it'll always be like that, but there's something about this community that is supporting the shows at Greenfield Lake and the BAC. They come out in numbers, and they get the importance of supporting the music scene. And literally, we sell more tickets than those big markets, which is impressive, and oftentimes we sell them faster. And that's one of the reasons we're getting so much talent brought here, is because the agents are starting to take notice. It's not just a great place for the bands to play, but there's what's important to agents oftentimes is money, and they're making it down here.
To kind of continue on that thing, Beau, what shows work here, and like what shows don't? I guess like from a promoter's point of view, what can you sell tickets to, and then what do you have a tough time selling tickets to?
I mean, obviously, I think the AAA market is alive and well, and I think that's great for this community. It's made up of.
Same with AAA.
I'm sorry.
Same with AAA.
AAA, Adult Acoustic, Adult Album Alternative, Adult Acoustic Album Alternative, 4 A's now. So basically the Penguin artists, they work. But the reason you're seeing that is because of people like myself and Beau, primarily, who have continued to bring those artists in and build that growing following in this market. It was already here, but I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Competition is healthy, but you or myself, we don't want to spend $20 in gas to go to Raleigh and then $100 in a hotel room. And I mean, we should not have to do that in this day and age. We should be able to sit in our own backyard and enjoy quality acts and contribute to the local economy and not take that taxable money out of this market. That doesn't benefit anybody here in this room for sure. What were we talking about? What acts work? I mean, yes, we see what acts work. There's some acts that just haven't been exploited yet. Some genres, if you will. Country has not been tested here. It's been tried a couple times, but it's not been followed through. You see the response for bands like Tedeschi Trucks and Michael Franti and Spearhead, and Dr. John and Taj Mahal. These are all quality acts that have been doing this for a long time. They just have never been to this market. This market is extremely hungry, and we thank you for that. You're the reason that these acts continue to come, and without that, we would just all continue to be nomads and travel to other venues and cities and support them. So.
What is the question?
What kind of acts work here? What kind of acts?
I need to hear the question.
The question is what acts work here and what acts don't. I think any act can work here. There's a market for most of the acts. I think it's somewhat a function of how often they come. First time Colt Ford, for instance, came to the Brooklyn Arts Center. Did anybody go to that? They were, nobody. He had about 650 people in there. It was a great show. Second time, he came 6 months later. He had less people. He came again the third time, he didn't play at Brooklyn Arts Center. So I think it's how often they come. But any music is good here. Reggae's good, country's good, Penguin's good.
Hip-hop shows coming up?
I don't have a hip-hop show coming up.
What do you listen to, Rich?
What do I listen to? Allman Brothers,
All right.
Tom Petty, Steely Dan.
Break down.
I'm old.
It's classical rock. I agree that really any act can work, and I'd echo that it really has to do with the frequency that you bring the band to town. But just to kind of hammer that home, what we've had success with, an immense success, bluegrass music. We've seen the hip-hop shows that not necessarily Rich has done at the BAC, but that have been hosted at the BAC have been successful. Country is the biggest format and the biggest musical genre in the world.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Big Boy is coming. Killer Mike. Big Boy is B-O-I.
From Outcast.
From Outkast, exactly. So, Modest Yahoo is coming. If you didn't go to the first show there, you missed something. Go to this one. That's off the hook. Okay, so that's my plug for sales for tickets.
All right. Yeah, hip-hop, bluegrass, the AAA genre such as the Penguin. It's got your rock and roll covered, jam bands. They've all been successful. It does have to do with the frequency, and then I really think you can't understate the support, not only that, I don't want to sound biased that the Penguin may give, but any radio station, radio airplay makes an immense difference, and the turnout that people will come see, and not only that, but the quality of music we can get. Bands want to come, agents want to put bands in markets where they're getting played on the radio. That goes for any radio station in any market. So it really depends on a few different variables, but airplay, frequency, are they at least a reputable national touring act? Chris, you handed me this. This is I wouldn't call this it's a reggae festival, but it's roots music. It's your California Roots Festival, the Carolina Sessions. Sold over 2,000 tickets already. 2,000 tickets. The event is 2 months away. It's going to be across the river at Battleship Park. You could imagine this will be a standing annual event. If we've got a 4,000, 5,000 cap venue right downtown, what does that mean if we could produce 3 or 4 of these, not necessarily this genre each time, but festivals along with touring acts of the size that we would need for 4,000, 5,000 people, the Black Crowes, Mumford & Sons, Lumineers, these bands that come to Raleigh Amphitheater, all of those folks, a lot of which come from out of town, stay in hotels, they eat, they drink, and hopefully they be married.
Real quick, this specific event that's going to be in October, Beau hit the nail on the head. We're early in the game. The support has been phenomenal. A lot of these bands haven't been here in a while, and a few of them have never been here. And we've seen ticket sales from New Hampshire to Florida to the Virgin Islands. People are traveling. They're coming through Wilmington International Airport. They're booking hotel rooms. They're consuming in restaurants. They're buying beer. They're going on tours of the city. They are basically flooding our market on a off weekend, if you will, in October after tourist season. They're flooding our market with money that was not ours that now becomes ours. And I think if we can continue to do that, it just goes back to it. I have to do this at Battleship because it's the biggest space that I have in the central downtown market. If I had a 5,000 person venue that was turnkey, that had the infrastructure in place, it would be a game changer, hands down, period. We have to build everything at Battleship. It is a vacant lot, if you will. We have to bring in fencing, we have to bring in power, we have to bring in restroom facilities. It goes on and on. The expenses add up. but the market is hungry enough that those things are viable, they make sense. We're willing to spend that money to see the return. And this was a chance, but it's been so well received already that it will definitely become a staple in this market. And what you will see is the West Coast movement of the roots starting on the east, but starting specifically on the east in Wilmington, and then working its way up and down the East Coast. And for that, we're extremely thankful and blessed, for sure.
There's a great blues festival in this town. Great blues festival. There's bluegrass down in Carolina Beach. There's the tiki bar down there. There's the music scene is just not downtown Wilmington. There's music all over the place. And I think that's great.
Also, if I may, I went to did you do Passion Pit last year at Battleship Park? I went to that, and did anybody else go to that out there? Passion Pit show? It was great, and it was really nice to have such a large band, and they're coming through again, right? At Greenfield Lake. And then you got the Joy Formidable opening for them, which is also a huge national act. But it was a pain because nothing that you can do about it because it's all you've got. But you had to wait 45 minutes to use the restroom. You had to wait 45 minutes to get a beer. It was just tough. And to have that larger venue would be, I think, great. I think it could really work. So.
Does anyone want a larger venue in Wilmington?
So what about because I always hear, the House of Blues, they take all our acts and no one can play here because of the House of Blues. Is that still a thing? I mean, I look at their schedule and there's not much overlap, but you'll see, Pauly Shore played here, he played there, So is that still a factor that they're keeping acts out of Wilmington, down in Myrtle Beach?
I'm actually going to pass this to Beau Gunn because he can speak with the most clarity on this. It's all about routing, and it's all about management, and it's all about what makes sense for the agent, for sure.
Has anyone, I've been asked this at least 100 times, the 100-mile radius. I've heard we can't do shows in Wilmington because the House of Blues has a 100-mile radius. That is true on any contract that the House of Blues puts out, but it's also true on any contract that we put out as well. So it really wouldn't be conducive for any agency to have a show in Myrtle Beach and then run it up the coast in Wilmington. An agent wouldn't let that happen because Myrtle Beach relies on Wilmington and Charleston to really populate their venues. Love the House of Blues. They're a client of ours, and I've seen a lot of great shows there, but we're selling more tickets than they do. Why is that? Why is that? I don't know. Is it because we're a starved market? We're a hungry market? Is it because bands have a better time here at the outside venue at Greenfield Lake Amphitheater? Or is it because the crowd is more rowdier? I don't know, but there are plenty of bands that you can think in your head if you follow the Wilmington music scene that a long time ago would have played at the House of Blues that come specifically to play in Wilmington. There's something to be said when you sell 2,000 tickets to the House of Blues or 1,500 tickets to the House of Blues and you sell out a venue in Wilmington at 1,300. A lot of bands will take that small, tiny pay cut to have a sold-out concert. A lot of agents like that as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the local bands, because I think it's important to have thriving local bands playing, like James Eaton Clark and the Renegades. So let's talk a little bit about who are, I guess what is it like for a local band playing now? Where are the places to play, and what is it? Because I think there's some established bands like Onward Soldiers and on the Renegades, and some up and coming bands like Astro Cowboy, a great young band that's coming up. But maybe Ethan can tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a working musician in Wilmington right now.
There are a bunch of really good venues to play here in town. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, there's the Calico Room, and for a smaller show, that's a really fun place to play. I love playing at the Brooklyn Arts Center. I must say that, Rich. It's a fantastic place to play. Yeah, it deserves applause. But as an artist that's not necessarily signed, I guess you would say, there's Calico Room, like you said, Ziggy's. They have 750 capacity, which is good. I think there's a lot of potential there. I used to play a lot of Soapbox when that was around, so obviously that's gone now. But the Whiskey's a good place to play. I love working with Andrew and Alicia. They're really, really good about promoting, and they promote with the Penguin as well, I think, for their shows. Calico's good. Trying to think of Satellite. I've played it several times here. Yeah, I've played about 4 times here. And City Stage is a fun place to play too, for a smaller gig. It's very intimate, yeah. But downtown, that's about it. I mean, Bottega used to play, we used to be able to play smaller shows there. Orton's, yeah, they've been having a lot of shows down at Orton's lately, and I've seen some shows down there, so that's pretty good. Playing in the Wilmington market is a lot of fun because people are loyal. The thing that I've had the problem with most is starting on time. A lot of the venues won't, a lot of the venues will get started really late. And, I don't necessarily have a problem with that because the later we wait, the bigger the show's going to be probably. People start trickling in late. That's just how we work in Wilmington. But, a good thing to think about as people who attend shows is to come on time so that, for one, the venue can start on time and we can start on time too because, we don't want to play late, but, we want to play. So that's the only thing that I'll have to say about that is starting the shows on time, I think, is one thing. But other than that, it's a great city.
Okay, we have a great crowd here, so we're going to go ahead and open it up. I know some people have some questions for our panelists or for me, and Andrew, right there.
Yeah. So, should the private sector or the city build our 4,000-seat amphitheater?
Show of hands. Who's down for the city building it?
I'll go for the city.
I'll pitch in my tax dollars. Who wants the private sector to build it?
It should be, there needs to be some of both.
But we can answer as well. I was just curious.
Andrew, do you think you can speak up?
About what?
That's a really good question, Andrew. And we could go back and forth all night about it. Risk versus reward. What the viability of the city's input and what they're willing to provide for the promoter versus what a private sector would and can. I personally would like to see a private individual or an entity step up and fill that spot, just to take politics out of the play. But then again, at this point, we need a venue, and I honestly think that if there was some common ground in the middle, that we could all benefit from it. So, I'm on the middle on that for sure.
What a politician.
Another question up front.
You didn't say anything about the venues at the university. Clearly they have facilities there. How come we don't have more action out at the UNCW?
Yeah, so we as promoters, the question was why aren't more shows basically done at UNCW's venues and facilities, which are already in place and could house those acts. Alcohol, that is the ultimate answer right here, period. Honestly, we as promoters make our money on you guys drinking and have a good time. The band takes a majority of the door after our risk and cost, so our profits are you guys consuming. And we all know that
drink up!
Yes, exactly. But we all know that the school system throughout the state of North Carolina does not encourage drinking on campus, so it's hard to do a show and encourage everyone to consume when it's not legal.
I will say also that the sound at UNCW in that great big basketball arena is, inadequate. So it's more fun to go to a show when the sound is great than to go to a show and the sound sucks.
And if the sound's going to be bad, you want to be inebriated so you don't know the difference. Not to sound crass, that is the reality, at least for me. It is the majority of the ticket sales, 90, sometimes 95%, they go to the artist and to expenses. Mathematically, the risk reward wouldn't be worth doing any shows unless you had that cushion of alcohol. The city's been very generous to help us out, at least at Greenfield Lake Amphitheater. The BAC does as well. Any venue that is going to rely on an outside promoter knows that's an important variable in attracting promoters who attract talent.
Yes, my question is about how a layperson who's not daily consuming music information finds out about talented young acts and which places to go. You've been helpful in talking about the big venues and the places where people come and tour from out of town. I still don't know what talent those groups represent. Where's the Pandora for local music? Or some other venue? I know we did some of it on the radio, God bless you. But I don't think we come anywhere close to making available the rich resources that we have in a way that people can get their arms around and say, hey, I want to go out tonight because there's some really good talent in this town.
Let me take this time to mention the Star News, and we have a great blog, starnewsonline.com/WAE, and we talk a lot about local music. But just like from a promoter's point of view, from a musician's point of view, what could the media be doing more to promote local music, to promote music in general?
Encore has the Blackboard page. Encore has the Blackboard page with all the local bars that have all the local music, which is great in and of itself. But wouldn't it be great if there was bio somewhere where you could read about the bands, who you were going to go see, why you were going to go see that particular band? There's nothing like that, John.
I mean, we all want to assume that everyone is on the same page with social media, but the reality of it is we don't have the option of checking our Facebook feed 20 times a day to catch what is coming through that and what is relevant and what is not, and separating what we need to pay attention to and what we don't. Great question. The Encore does a great job. Star News has a great blog with some local acts. I don't think it'd be a bad idea to feature a local band with a write-up and with some airplay and things of that nature on Star News' website and in paper media on a bi-monthly basis or so.
We've written up many bands. I will tell you, online, those stories don't get the clicks. I will tell you, we put up stories about local music. I don't see them at the top of our top 10 list, hardly ever. So, maybe we could be putting them up higher on the website. There's all that kind of stuff like that. But there is, that said, there is a thriving local music scene, and there's some great bands. You're gonna see Travis over there, who's there's a band called Astro Cowboys, some really young kids coming up who sound great. I mean, Onward Soldiers is a quality band that I'll put up against any band from any other town. L-Shape is an amazing band I'll put up against anybody. So, absolutely. Bibis doesn't live here anymore, although she does play every week. But, Bibis is an amazing singer. And we've had some great bands come out of this town. I will say, we've had the Love Language who played here, went up to Raleigh. We've had the Rosebud, started here, had to go out of town. So I want to kind of throw out there, is there something, what does this town need to get, like where a band can kind of make it here and stay popular and not have to go to Raleigh or Chapel Hill or New York or wherever to really make it?
You going to think about it? I don't necessarily have the answer, which I haven't had the answer all night, so that shouldn't surprise you. But I think one of the challenges, I think you'd probably agree, is overexposure. Is trying to make sure that you play enough in Wilmington, but there's that fine balance of playing enough and then playing too much. And in between playing enough and playing too much, and you've got to pay your rent, you may not have the pieces in place to book a gig in Chapel Hill or in Raleigh or out of town that you may need to make that next jump or to pay that next bill. So local bands may oftentimes resort to, playing a club that they just played last week, and that really results into that potential overexposure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, for a while when I was first starting to play, I was trying to get my name out because nobody really knew. And after a while, it started being like, hey, let's go see Ethan play tonight. No, we can catch him this weekend or next week, or I saw him last week. So overexposure is definitely a big thing. That's a really good point. One thing that I've always seen when I travel to larger cities is I watch the news, the local news, and see what's going on and stuff. And a lot of times their local news will have a segment kind of like they do with sports or breaking news or top news, that kind of thing. They'll have a segment on like what's going on in that city. You know, like I guess, you know, what would be WBAY and WCT here. For instance, I was in Indianapolis last year and I was watching the news, trying to figure out what was going on, and I asked the front desk, you know, hey, what's going on this weekend? We couldn't find anything out, so, you know, we went around to a few other restaurants, local bars, that kind of thing. Next day, we met up with some friends, and they were like, yeah, Bob Dylan was playing in the park last night. You know, it's like, you know, hotels definitely, you know, that's a big thing. Making sure the hotels know what's going on. The news, I don't know. The possibilities are truly endless, so.
I was going to say, going back to, you know, helping spread the word, and to your point earlier, where do you look? I just got to thinking maybe technology and so many various sources that we have at our disposal, it may be a tough thing. It used to be where it was probably one paper, one place to look where all the entertainment was. Now one band, which there isn't anymore. I mean, there's several, and yeah, in theory you could put every single piece of entertainment there, but James Ethan Clark might prefer posting here and there, and another band here and there. What you get is a lot of little bits of information unless you search every site, every local site. You may not have the opportunity to know everything that's going on. Or you could listen to the Penguin 24 hours a day.
The only other thing I have to add is weekly now at Pipeline on our Facebook page, we do a what's playing for the entire week, and it is a clickable link with background information and data on the artist and things of that nature. It's kind of catered toward, you know, a little more intimate setting and private. It is not just our events, it's events all over town. Every venue that we can fit into that post without exceeding the limits set by Facebook. So I think Beau hit it on the head. There's so many different outlets and opportunities that you really have to do your research, and I'm going to say it again, just be hungry and willing to spend that time to figure out what is relevant to you versus the next person.
More questions?
Question back there?
Yeah, this is Greenfield Lake. Will the city of Wilmington, or is it financially feasible for promoters to do live music outside of the venue in that roundabout for local musicians and maybe play there while everybody tailgates? The Rotary Garden.
That's a good question.
That's a residential neighborhood. There's a sound ordinance there.
Yes. We walk a fine line with the area and respecting the people who, you know, they're rooted there, they own property there, they live there, and we always want to keep.
We used to use that for locals all the time. That used to be a very popular venue for local bands. It was a Monday night park series, super successful. We had a super nice arts council back in the day. We had many times used that venue for locals, and we had plenty of people populated. 1994, Rolling Stone picked us to be the next Seattle. We responded by leveling a 7 dB noise ordinance on downtown, and we blew it.
Take that, Rolling Stone.
We got a shot at it again, and the same guy will come here and do it for us. We just need to show everybody a little love. Instead of looking at stupid grumpy cat, go to John's bands. He's taking the time to write really well for the town his whole life. And if you go there and click on a couple of those bands and listen to them, you'll find better stuff than you'll find on the radio. And just show the love.
Agreed.
Amen. I will say specifically to Rotary Park, you could pull some permits. It wouldn't be worth, at least from my vantage point, it would not be worth taking on the added liability, putting the portalets out there, getting the insurance out there, worrying about people, you know, wandering in other folks' yard. It just wouldn't be worth it. It's very difficult. It's not red tape through the city, which they're very guilty of oftentimes, specifically in GLA. But it wouldn't be worth it. We've thought about it. We've had a couple of acoustic acts, but not worth the risk.
Ways to support guys like this that can't get.
I agree 100%. When we rent Greenfield Lake Amphitheater, we're renting the compounds, the inside of the fencing, if you will. So that is private property that we technically have no control over. So that in itself is a reason that we do not do more out there for literally every reason that Beau just highlighted, from ticketing, from permitting and sound ordinances and restroom facilities and things of that nature. So
would it help to work with the city to get that?
do you enjoy going to the dentist?
The question Hillary asked is, would it be worth it to work with the city? Absolutely. We could use all the help we could get. If there's anyone who can pull strings to help, I would put a local band right there in Rotary Park. Every single Penguin concert that we had, guaranteed, if we can lift some of the liability from the radio station, I'd be all over it, all day long.
Lady right there? Yeah.
There's a lot of historic wounds and divisions in this community. What can the local music scene do to help integrate this community and make it more of an integrated community?
I guess the question is, what can the scene do to kind of bring bands together, bring
people together?
Bring people together.
I did a jazz show. I tried to do one at Brooklyn Arts Center, and I got no support. I'd done salsa night 3 times. I got very little support. I'd do anything there, but people have to come. Otherwise, the business, the Brooklyn Arts Center, loses money. And if you lose money too many times, you disappear. So it's hard, because I've tried, and I'm not getting the support for those things. So for support, the question is, what do you need for support? And the answer is people to come. You need people to buy tickets and come and buy a few beers and enjoy the show. You know, for salsa, I had less than 100 people come. For the jazz thing, I mean, I gave the Jazz Society, I gave them everything. Just come. They didn't come. So I'm not sure what to do there. I try, you know, it's not that we haven't tried. It's that I didn't get support in that direction. I would try again. I'm happy to try. I did Nofo Loco, if anybody can remember that. Nofo Loco was, did you do that? 16 local bands. 16 local bands, all day. In the courtyard, if you've ever been back there, and then back in the church, and then back to the courtyard, all day long. I mean, I think there should have been hundreds and hundreds, maybe the entire community should have come out to support those bands. And they didn't. So, you know, it's hard to know, from a venue's point of view only, what to do, how to solve that. All I can do is do the event and hope that people come. I'm big on the local bands. I love these kids. I love them when they play at Brooklyn Arts. I try to get them there all the time. I did 2 nights of bluegrass this year, 7 bluegrass bands. It was great. I had about 300 people come each night. I would do it again, but gotta come out. That's it.
I think that's exactly what it is. You gotta step out of your comfort zone and cross-collateralize your interest in music and genres and give everything else a little bit of a chance, you know, and support. While you might be a fan of the AAA market or country music or the reggae market, you can also help out support bluegrass acts and other things that maybe aren't your forte per se, but you know, there's talent here. I mean, Mr. Clark down here is proof of it. I don't know how many people haven't heard him tonight, but you got the chance to tonight because you were outside of your comfort zone and you came to this discussion. So.
right there.
One more thing. Another thing that I've spoken with Rich here about is Hillary earlier mentioned the Carolina Music Awards this year. I've been working with the guy that runs it. He's also a promoter. And we're looking at bringing a hopscotch-style music festival to Wilmington next fall. Which, yeah, it'll be incredible. So it's going to be multiple venues, close to 70 bands. Rich's venue is going to be a part of it. And that's in the workings right now. But in order for it to work, you guys got to come out. You gotta show up. You know, you gotta come out to the show to make it work. To make a festival like Hopscotch work here in Wilmington. So.
I know you all came down here because you do care about the local music scene, and it's not just to say you all need to come out each time. You may say, oh, I'm coming out each time. But there's small things you can do, whether it's sharing events on Facebook that you care about. Those little things make a ton of difference. Asking for, a couple of posters, I'm going out downtown anyway, hanging them up. I mean, those are small things, and that's not to say you have to do it, but you're here because you care, and those are the very, very grassroots elements that a vibrant music scene is built behind. So if you're wondering, or saying, don't look at me, I support everything I can, thank you first and foremost. Secondly, if you can do some very easy things, sharing, liking, whatever, particular events that you believe in through social media, makes a huge difference. It really does.
Yeah, still have more questions.
My name is Sarah, and I'm here from Athens, Georgia, which has, in my opinion, the best music scene in the Southeast. And one of the things that I noticed first time that I went downtown was that Athens has record stores. But I would argue to say that Gravity Records here in Wilmington is one of the best assets that we have. That somebody needed to acknowledge them because they're a huge part. They're someone who pushes out all of the stuff and events and concerts and sells tickets. But if anything, I could urge our promoters and our radio station and our musicians is to support them. They're an incredible asset to this community, and yeah, it's not really question.
More questions.
I got a two-part one. I'm kind of new to the scene, but I've been booking a lot more shows, trying to help promote shows, bringing bands to town in the last year or so. And one thing I've noticed between the last year and this year, even shows that we packed out, we know the bar did great. Do you think there's too many places, too many bars, too many venues for the amount of people we have coming to shows, to where, because it seems like all the guarantees we used to get for bands to bring bands here, because you need a guarantee to bring it out to a band, for them to take the gas away to come, to hit Chapel Hill and hit us maybe, or come out here. Do you think it's hurting it because all the bars have been cutting our guarantees recently? It's harder to get, even free beer to bring those bands out. Also, one thing I noticed between Chapel Hill, Gainesville, stuff like that, there isn't really anywhere near the college campuses. They'll find you and put flyers and cars and things. There's no real, you go downtown Chapel Hill, on there, you'll build bus stations, you'll see flyers and shows, and have to rate a lot of the six, eight, there's places around, every block or so. And things like that will help those that are in the maybe that plus
That's a great question, and we're going to start to wrap it up here soon. Are there too many places? And this kind of leads into a question I had of all the, there's a lot of free music series. You've got Downtown Sundown everyone loves, and everyone's got a free music series. Does that almost devalue the music? That people expect it for free? They pay the band, which is great, and people make money, but just having too many places and too many kind of free shows all the time, does that pose a problem in any way?
Do free music series hurt the scene? I don't think so. I really don't. Generally, they wrap up pretty early, and like it or not, most of them are cover bands, so unless you're trying to promote Journey and the foreigner comes to town or whatnot, did I get that the right way, then you might You might, yeah, or Who's Bad Comes to Town. I don't think that the free music series hurt things. I think if anything, that's getting people that may really not be passionate about live music. They're not going to open their wallet anyway, most likely, to come to a show. In terms of, are there too many smaller venues here that segmenting the market? I don't know if that was your exact question to lead out with. I'm not an expert on it, but I don't think so. And yes, I do think, to your follow-up question, could there be places downtown that are on campus that really aren't homes where you can support flyers or handbills and all that good stuff? Yeah, I really think that needs to be accepted by the university and downtown a little better. Perhaps not pass an ordinance of putting no flyers in the window.
Yeah, we just had the recent percentage of your storefront, which, you know, it's your storefront, that can be used for display of promotional material and whatnot. You know, we have a street team, and it definitely makes a difference, but I'm going to use it again. It's like pulling teeth sometimes to be allowed to display your promotional material. So yes, there could be help on all sides of the equation, everybody, as far as continuing the word of mouth or whatnot.
Is there a way to fix that though? Like, is there a way to get people?
You know, I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. You know, we can all lobby together and say that we want to see more advertisements for local acts and more direct access to that medium, but like a kiosk almost, like public kiosk. Yeah, we need some city council ordinances or things of that nature. That's definitely a bigger thought for sure. Downtown Sundown did a study, and the sheer number of people that were traveling from more than 40 miles away to come take part in the economics of this downtown and this market was mind-blowing. So absolutely not. Downtown Sundown and things of that nature, free concert series, they only get that consumer out of their comfort zone and allow them to go out and partake in businesses and other ideas that they wouldn't have on their normal 9 to 5, on the normal night, if you will.
And that wasn't really part of the question. I was mainly just stating apparently a lot of bars are making less money now, so they're paying the bands less money than they were, or at least even shows that we were packing out like a year ago.
Sure. I mean, competition is healthy, you know. Everything we're talking about here is a gamble, period. I mean, instead of gambling with cards and chips, we're gambling with venues and artists, you know. So I think the only reply to that I have is being selective and sticking to your ground and doing your grassroots and your marketing correctly to hit your target audience and not waste your time and energy.
All right, we got one last question, then we're going to wrap things up.
Public transit. It just seems like, you call for a cab, it's an hour before they get there. Ethan, for instance, was here one night, called a cab at 9 o'clock. At 10:30, he finally walked away and got mugged on the way home. Because they wouldn't come. You know, there's 155 taxi licenses in the city, and I can bet you there's 50 cabs around. And it's always an issue that you never get a cab, can't get them to come pick you up and take you there, you can't get the ones that take you home because they sit at home. They don't visit the clubs, they don't stop in one of them, they park in one place, and if you do call, it's an hour and a half before they get there. And that's the problem that we have for people downtown is we can see them.
You repeat the question?
Hey guys, but that's a great question. We're going to continue the discussion. We're all going to be sticking around. We're all going to be hanging out for a while. So please come talk to us. I want to thank our panelists so much for coming out. Thanks to Hillary and Ian and the Career Economic Development Council. And thanks to all you guys. Obviously, you care a lot. You all care enough to come out and care about live music, so that's very important. So thank you, everyone, for a great discussion.